Welcome to another episode of Watch Me Do Family History. I'm Chris Knudsen. I love doing family history, and I'm making these videos just to show people that in 30 minutes you can get a lot done. So what I'm showing is my format for doing descendancy work. And I always stay in the United States, and I start off with one of my great-grandparents, Harriet Jane Lamb. And for the last several episodes, we have been going up to Daniel Beebe. And let's click on his fan chart. Now we're going to change Daniel Beebe from a fan chart to a descendancy view. So I've got Daniel Beebe, who was born in 1770. And we keep coming down his children and going down from there. My goal is to go come back forward to the 1850s and look for children who do not have a spouse listed and search for them and see if we can find a spouse and children. And that allows us to increase the size of the tree and add new people to my family tree. So we have been working on Daniel's son Calvin, and from Calvin we've been going down to Calvin's son Allenson, and from Calvin's son Allenson we've been working on Walter Jacob Beebe. And last episode, Walter Jacob Beebe had married Martha Louise Meach and had 4 children. Last episode we found a 5th child, Frank, and we found spouses for Anna Lillian Beebe and Maxine H. Beebe. So today we are going to go back up and start looking at Ruth Celia Beebe to see what we can find. So we're still on Allenson Eaton Beebe's line with Ruth Celia Beebe. So let's go ahead and click on her and see what we can find. I'm going to right click on the person and open the link in a new tab. And let's go ahead and open this up to full view. So we have Ruth Celia Beebe, who was born in 1853 in New York. No death record, and residence shows 1860 in Fountain Green, Hancock, Illinois. And in 1865, her family had moved to Canaan, Columbia, New York. And in 1870, it just says New York. She has 3 sources listed and no spouse listed. So let's go back up here and do a search. There's no family search record hints, so I always start off on Ancestry when there's no family search record hints. Ancestry, interesting. Starts off with a 1900 census that it thinks is our Ruth Celia Beebe, Ruth C. Beebe, born July 1853, marriage 1872, living in Chatham, Columbia, New York, which matches our Ruth C. Beebe, so possibly a Ruth calendar. So, but I always grab a record that we already know. And we know she was living in Fountain Green, Hancock, Illinois in 1860. And do we have an 1870 census? Yes. The 1870 census that said New York. I'm curious if this is our 1870 census. And let's assume she got married in 1872. So we've got her dad, Allenson, her mom, Anne. Then you have Celia and her 2 twin brothers, Walter and Wallace. So, living in Claverack, I don't know how to pronounce that, Columbia, New York, same county. So these are the record hints, suggested records that Ancestry gives us. Again, it believes that Ruth married a calendar. And Celia, there's a marriage record down here for a Celia E. Beebe. Interesting. And there's also one for Layla Bibi. Ruth C. Celia A. So 1880. Let's go ahead and look at this marriage record. Leary E. Calendar. Okay, I see. That is a marriage of a child. So Leary E. Calendar could possibly be her husband. Let's see if there's another one we want to look at. Again, another child, Layla instead of Celia. That's kind of an interest. Sometimes those are just sometimes those are just indexers, different ways of reading, or the record was a little hard to read. Dutch Reformed Church Records, Celia Bibi. Okay, here is a marriage record of a Celia Bibi, married 20th of February 1872, and at a church, Upper Red Hook, Tivoli, Melonville, Linlithgow, marrying a Leroy E. Calendar. That looks promising as well. So this is a good marriage record to look at. I'm going to keep this one up while we go look for other clues. So if they were married in 1872, the next census they would be in would be 1880. Let me go back. So I want to keep this marriage record up, but let's go to I'm going to right click on the 1880 and open that in a new tab. So now we have Celia A. Calendar, 1880. Father's birthplace, New York. Mother's birthplace, New York. Her birthplace, New York. So 1880. Let's open up the 1900 census as well, and the 1910. And let's look at those. Still living in Chatham, Columbia, New York, close to where her family was living. Marriage 1872, so that's the couple. Let's see what it says in 1910. Sometimes I like to pull these up just to check to see if a family member happens to be living with them, and then that confirms that it's the right couple. Then sometimes you want to look for death records. So you got 1810. There's an 1910 and a 1925 census. Let's look at that. She's old at that time. And let's see this Civil War pension record. Civil War. Okay, so this Celia Calendar's husband, Leroy E. Calendar, was a widow of somebody who fought in the Civil War. Interesting. Okay, so they were married in this place, but then they moved back to close to her parents. Let's look at the actual record and see if she's living anywhere near her parents. So we're looking for any Bibis on the same page. Okay, so it may be hard to read, and the indexing person said this is Brebe A.E., and her father's name is Alanson Eaton Beebe, mother Anne, with Ruth and Wallace and Walter. So you have A-E-B-B with an Annie and a Wallace and Walter. She's living right next door to her parents. This is why it's a good idea to sometimes open up the actual record, and because you can see the people living next to family members, and this confirms that this is my Cilia. So this record is a marriage record for my Cilia. So let's go ahead and add this to Ruth Cilia Beebe's sources. So I need to go up here and copy her ID number. And I'm going to go back to this tab and go over here to my favorite helper extension on Google Chrome browser, which is RecordSeek. And before we do that, let me bring this back down. It doesn't like it when you're in full screen mode when you do this. So I'm going to click on this, create a source. I can add a source to either Family Search record or an Ancestry.com record. We're going to add it to Family Search, and it's authenticating. Okay, so right here I'm going to right click and paste that ID number that I just brought over from Cilia, and click Next. Attach source to Ruth Cilia Beebe, and my reasoning is correct family living next door to parents in the 1880 census. So if anybody ever wonders how I came to that leap. Okay, congratulations, a new source has been created and added for Ruth Cilia Beebe. So we're going to close that and go ahead and blow this page back up again. Now, we know they were married in 1872, and her husband's name is Leroy E. Callender. So we can now add the 1880 census. So let's go back to Ruth, and so that we don't have to type anything, we're going to find Ruth living in that 1880 census on Family Search, and we're going to change her last name to Callender. I just forgot for a second. Okay, so let's start with the 1880 census. Oh, this is exciting. So we've got Ruth Cilia Beebe living with her husband. Ah, it's already been attached to a Cilia Beebe MP33 STP. But my Cilia is not that. So we are going to find this person. Let's copy this ID, and since this is a duplicate, we are going to merge Ruth Cilia Beebe with her husband, with the other Ruth Cilia Beebe who has her husband. So we're going to click down here in the tools section. You got this merge by ID, and we're going to right click and click paste and click continue. So this is why I always flesh out, I always add as much information as I can on new spouses, because eventually you can find that they could exist already on the Family Search tree. So here we have our Ruth Cilia Beebe and this Cilia Beebe, both of them born in 1853, New York. Spouse is the correct spouse, but we are going to add that over with 4 children. And nothing else new with that. So the information we want to keep, or we want to bring over, is going to be this residence in 1875, this residence in 1880, the husband, and all these children. So we are cleaning up the tree, making it more accurate. And I don't even have to give a reason. It's clear that that's the right, that those are the same people. Okay, so now we know there's a few more census records that we can add with Leroy and the children. Let's just see if we can see what we know about these ones. This person doesn't have a birthplace. This person has a birthplace. This person has a birthplace. This one doesn't have a birthplace. So we obviously need to add more information on these children. So that's great. We've got some more work to do. Let's go ahead and let's add some more census records. So it's easier to search using the husband. So I'm going to go back here and do a search using the husband. So we have the 1880 census. Wait, let's see. Do they have Leroy's parents? They have his father. Okay. Before we keep doing information on the children, let's flesh out Leroy, since he was new to my tree. And they've got a father born in 1795, but no mom. And so let's see what we can find in this 1855 census. Okay. So here's Archibald living with his wife, Wealthy Calendar. So we can add his mom. This just makes his record more full. I'm not related to these people unless their tree goes back far enough. So for Leroy, he was living in Canaan, Columbia, New York. Let's attach that. And we're going to attach this record to his father. And we're going to add his mother. And a residence and attach. Okay, so we've got that 1855 census added. Let's go ahead and add the next one, which is the 1900. Okay, it looks like there's a new child here, 1892. So when Ruth Celia was 49 years old, she had a daughter named Anita M. Calendar. Great. And Anne E. Beebe is the mother-in-law. Her mom came to live with them. See what I said about finding family members in censuses? So let's go ahead and add Anita M. Calendar. So we're going to create this new person. And we're going to add the residence and attach. Now, to add somebody who's floating off here, it's unclear where this belongs, but we know where it belongs. So we're going to change the focus person. So we're going to change the focus person to Ruth C. Calendar. And once you do that, it pops up so you can add the mom's record. Anne E. Beebe and Eliza Wincoop. So we're going to add that residence and attach this source to her record. Okay, great. So now let's go ahead and close this one and add the next one, 1910. So Dora came back to live with them, and she's now married. So we just found a spouse for Dora. Okay, so Lumen P. Kelsey. Leroy F. Kelsey. So 2 grandchildren. So let's go ahead and add this to Leroy. Click attach. And we'll add it to Ruth. And we'll add Dora. And we'll add Anita. Now, in order to add Dora's husband, you just change the focus person to Dora. And that opens up a spot to add her. Oh, so her husband isn't listed there, but now we can add her children. So let's go ahead and add her children. Let me just check. Was she listed as widowed? Or is her husband just off working somewhere? Yes, Dora I. Kelsey, widowed. Oh, that's so sad. With a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, and that's why she had to go back and live with her parents. Okay, so let's close this. And we'll go back and find her husband, who died before 1910. But after 1907, because that's when her last son there was born. Okay, so we've got Leroy and Ruth, the married daughter, Dora. So let's see if we can find Dora's husband now. So I'm going to right click on Dora. I'm going to open Dora and I'm going to go to her person page. Right click and add a new tab. So we know in 1910 she was living with her young children. Let's see if we can find her in the 1920 census or a marriage record. Okay, spouse Rollo. So here is a record, a marriage record of her son Leroy. Let's go ahead and add that just for fun. So you've got Dora, her son Leroy, her husband is Rollo. Leroy C. Kelsey. This marriage happened in 1936. Leroy's birth is 1907. He's going to marry a Thelma Louise Brezel, who's older than him. So she was born in 1903. And then it has her parents. So let's go ahead and add these people. Okay, I guess I'll just go ahead and attach all this stuff and then we'll add it later. I'm going to have to merge the two Leroys once and we're going to change the focus person to Leroy, add his wife Thelma. Change the focus person to Thelma and add her parents. So her name is Brezel. So we're going to add Wallington Brezel. Hopefully that's his name. His daughter could have married, and then this could be her second marriage, but I don't have any information telling me otherwise. And he's old. Attach. And we're going to add the mother, who is deceased, because she's old. Okay, now let's go back and merge the two Leroys. So I just copied the ID number for the other Leroy. We're going to merge by ID. They are the exact same person. There's a difference in the middle initial, but same mother. We're not going to add this parent thing so that he only ends up in the one parent. Okay. Now let's go back to Dora. Good. Okay, so we need to find out more information about Rollo because he died. So let's go back to him. And I'm going to close some of these extra tabs. So Rollo Kelsey, we don't know where or when he was born. And we have Dora Callender, his wife. So let's look on Ancestry. So here we are, Rollo E. Kelsey, living in 1900. He's the son of Louise and Eva, and they were both really old when they had him. 1880 census, Louis Phoebe. He had an older brother named Louis. So Rollo Kelsey, Father Louis and Phoebe, he died in 1909, which is why in 1910 his wife is somewhere else. He was born in 1877. So let's open that one up. Death 1909. So birth 1877. So let's go ahead and add that. Save. And death 1909. I'm going to put his death date, or death place as New York. We may have to change that if we find out otherwise, but that's where he's buried. And his parents are Louis and Phoebe. Roland E. Kelsey. Rollo is really Roland. Colorado County Marriage Records. Ah, they got married in Colorado. That's interesting. So this marriage record, 1904 Colorado. Let's go ahead and see if we can find that. Let's add this 1880 census just to give him more information. And then we'll come back and add that marriage. So Roland has a brother named Louis. So we'll go ahead and add him as well. Okay, so let's go back. Let's change his name to Roland. And we're going to do a new... Got to find that marriage record. 1904, Denver, Colorado. Okay, maybe it's because it was Rollo that we were searching under instead of Roland. There it is. Dora I calendar. Review and attach. They did a destination wedding. Just kidding. In Denver, Colorado. Okay, so now we have more information on Roland. Let's see if we can get... Let me refresh this. See if there's any record hints. There was a 19... So we have him in an 1880 census. Let's go ahead and add the 19... he died in 1909, so he's not going to be in the 1910. Let's add that 1900 census. We have to change his name to Rollo. Rollo E. Kelsey, 1900. Review and attach. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. To review, we were on Daniel Beebe, and we came down to Calvin Eaton Beebe. We went down to Allinson Eaton Beebe, and we were looking at Ruth Celia Beebe, who was listed as single. So when we refresh this, so we go down to Calvin, we go down to Allinson, and we go down to Ruth, who was previously listed as single. Now her line includes her husband, several children, and we found Dora's husband, Roland, with 2 children, and we found Leroy's spouse, Thelma. So a lot of good work in just a short period of time. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy doing your own family history, and we'll see you again next time.